Okay, now the stream is officially live. Let's see. Let me just, post the thing. There we go. Righto. So, people aren't here yet, but I'll get started right away. Everyone, welcome back to, the Sunless Sea stream. Today, the general goal is to, once again, continue with the basic story, and at the same time, and yes, it will be at the same time, to finish up exploring the map. We only have a few small areas left that we haven't at least seen. They are around the, southeasternmost corner of the map. So, I'll just get started right away. Oh, shoot. I don't know whether my autosave is still, the correct file. Guess we'll have to see. There's no easy way to, deal with that once it's already started loading. Okay. Yep, this is Kitty. And we have... Is this right? I'm gonna go ahead and load the actual Kitty save file I made last time. Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, right, we went out again after that one particular bit. Let me just check. Yep. That is accurate. We still have to go to the... we still have to go east along the bottom. We know where the Fathom King's Hold is, so that's going to be important soonish. The place we're looking for is either right here or right here. But we also should get around to finding the other place at some point. So, no matter where it is, we will be fine. Okay, so... right. We have this vital intelligence that we got from combining two of our strategic informations. This is a really important item, and it's why I always tell people save your strategic information for vital intelligence. It's much better, because it unlocks an entire sort of game mode that for the longest time I did not know existed in this game. I'm glad you brought this to me. I have a colleague of sorts, a diplomat, so-called. I will tell you because I trust you. This diplomat will pay better, but I will put the information to better use. He leans forwards. There are powers in this world I cannot speak of. There are affairs of the Navy I am not proud of. Bring me more information like this, and we can set matters right. We now have Supremacy London recovering. Meaning that, so various groups, organizations in this game have a supremacy score, which is how good they're doing. London is one of them. The others are the Dawn Machine, the Anarchists, the Conet, and I think at least one other. The idea behind this is that once you get to a certain point of the game, you can choose to give vital intelligence or other things that they might need to these other groups. But they won't exactly, they won't necessarily have the best things in mind for London. Or we could give it all to London. It basically, the idea is you're helping these people become supreme over the Undersea. It's not necessarily giving the Dawn Machine something, Frog. It's, more accurately, okay, so one important thing, you see how the, Admiral is wearing those dark spectacles? There's people, in the world who... Yes, Zeno, you did make it! We're just starting out. There's people in the world who have these glasses on, and oftentimes, not necessarily all the time, but if you can't see someone's eyes, it can sometimes mean they're related to the Dawn Machine. Because people who are part of the Dawn Machine's faction, the London Admiralty, have extremely bright red eyes. And they normally try to... Or, no, not red, glowing eyes. They essentially have glowy eyes. And most of them try to hide that with dark spectacles. So, for example, the Carnelian Exile here is wearing the same dark glasses, and we are entirely sure she is at least previously a member of the Dawn Machine faction, because we found her in Grand Geode, and she specifically said that she wants to be elsewhere now, meaning she was kicked out of the faction for whatever reason. We also managed to get this person's contact, the Voracious Diplomat. The Diplomat lairs near Mansion's Pyre, in a second-floor office above a gymnasium for pugilistic ladies and gentlemen, so above a boxing ring. Your conversation is punctuated by distant shouts and blows. The Diplomat smiles fondly at the sounds. So, the Diplomat is the second person we can give vital intelligence to right now. The other is the dark-spectacled Admiral, who we've been dealing with for quite a while. Other things we can do with the Diplomat are basically sell her moves in the Great Game, which we get 50 echoes for each. The Diplomat takes no notes, only listens with utmost concentration, fingertips touching, eyes lightly closed. The payment is small, but welcome. And we also have this, and I am going to take this immediately. Pick up an agent. I have a friend, the Diplomat says casually, who would be grateful for passage somewhere else. The Connaught, for instance, or Port Carnelian. An agent will allow you to establish an intelligence network and sometimes to grow it later. So, one agent costs one Admiralty's favor, which you get from turning in vital intelligence, strategic information, and new port reports. The first time you go to each port, the first time you do it, you get one port report. You don't get it any other time. Or not port report, one Admiralty's favor. But you can get infinite of it by just continuing to take their strategic information missions, which I believe we will do. He wants us to go to Frostfound, which is actually... I find this really funny because there is an option to not do that. Please don't send me to bloody Frostfound. Which is kind of weird, because Frostfound's not really all that hard to get to. In terms of, like... It's certainly not something you would want to spend favors on not doing. There is a port that, from the beginning of the game, is absurdly hard to reach. We're actually going there today. But it does not have the same option to say, please no. So that's a bit weird. Also, we can ask what he thinks about the diplomat. A frank scowl. An unprincipled scoundrel, the Admiral snaps. If you have intelligence, bring it to me. Don't go off the books. Similarly, we can ask the diplomat about the Admiral. A carefully neutral expression. Well now, the Admiral is a man of principle, very straightforward, very traditional in his views. I think it's rather courageous of him to expect the Navy to operate without outside assistance, and he has excellent taste in both chamber music and wine. I hope that makes my feelings clear. So, basically what we're seeing here is they don't particularly like each other. Although the diplomat, being a spy, is much more polite about it. But what's notable here is it's courageous of him to expect the Navy to operate without outside assistance. That's a huge hint as to who you should trust in this relationship. Because if he claims to be for the Navy, and he does have the dark glasses, which may mark him as a member of the Dawn Machine, but this crack about outside assistance indicates that he actually isn't with the ranks of the Dawn Machine, and that potentially the diplomat is. And that is actually the case. The diplomat, when you give intelligence to her, it's not every time, but it has a chance to raise the Dawn Machine superiority. Whereas the Admiral will usually raise London superiority. So basically, unless you want the Dawn Machine to win, you're gonna want to turn things into the Admiral. Also, we can ask about her role. A catly grin. The kind of diplomacy that doesn't get written down. I'm attached to the Admiralty, not the Foreign Office. London is not what she was, but she still has interests abroad. I look after them as best I can. I do hope you're patriotic enough to not ask for too many details. Yeah, you're not supposed to trust the diplomat at all. But she can be useful. She is the only person who can give you the agents. So you can start up spy networks in different locations. Specifically, you can have spy networks in Khan's Heart and in Port Carnelian. Basically a spy in London's direct enemy, the Khanate, or a spy in probably the most constantly under fire London colony, which is, like, on one hand, London, on the other hand, the Khanate, and on the other hand, the natives of the Elder Continent. As for this thing, a little gift. A very fine evening to you, Captain. A very fine evening to you, Captain. My what you might call mentor is very fond of adventurous sea captains, and he would like to offer you what you might call a dispensation, on account of he is so fond of sea captains. Behind the blind bruiser, on the dock, stands a dray piled high with fuel and supplies. So this. This is technically a good money-making opportunity, but it can be very dangerous. This gift, as you might guess, has a catch behind it. The blind bruiser here works for the Cheery Man, who is one of London's major crime lords. If you choose to accept his gift, he will expect to be repaid in the future through smuggling services. Um, it's it's kind of there to be an out for new captains, but don't rely on it too much because it can very easily go wrong, and if it does, you get seriously fucked up. However, I know what I'm doing. So first off, let's inquire further. He runs a very fine and very liberal establishment just across the river, what is much patronized by sailors and by men of wit and vinegar. An public house. And there is no obligation to speak of. My patron would hope only that you might remember him kindly, and I suppose that if the opportunity should arise for you to return his kindness, then I do not imagine he would refuse your offer. So I'm going to say, yes, we do. 15 points of space in the hold, or come back later. Well, my patron hopes that you find these little gifts to your liking, and he expects that perhaps someday you might choose to call on him at the Medusa's Head. Should that day come, we will make you very welcome and give you any safe conduct what you might require. Good evening to you. He salutes and is gone. So, we have 10 fuel and 5 supplies now. A shadowy figure has made us an offer, and we have gained suspicion. So, the London police are much more suspicious of us now. So, we have a couple of port reports, and much more than a couple, actually. Yes, you know, it's a great idea. Yet, like I said, don't take that offer. Like, it looks like you have to choose there and then, but you can actually back out and take it any time. He'll just stand there waiting. So if you don't know what you're doing, don't take his offer. I, on the other hand, know exactly what I'm doing. So, first off, let's go ahead and give him our regular port reports. This will get us more fuel. And some money. Got one for Demo's Gate. We can once again take... Oh, yes. By the way, I have moved locations. I'm no longer doing this at school, which means we won't have to deal with campus internet, and I won't have to, find a space to lock myself in to keep from being interrupted. But on the other hand, I have 2 dogs who are often very loud. So if you hear barking, don't worry too much about it. So we can once again take that option to submit the Shepherd Isles thing as fact. Candidly, I'm not sure why you saw fit to trouble us with this nonsense. Is there anything else? That's what happens when you fail. If you remember, we succeeded before, and he rushed out of the room and left us 50 echoes. Abbey Rock, the Cumian Canal, Pigmoat Isle, Isle of Cats, and so on and so forth. Oh yes, Quaker's Haven has actually changed since last time because the Connaught took it over. We are well informed of the situation, painfully well informed. Thank you, though. And what's left are the underwater ones, which I'm going to save for the time being, because I'm going to take a quick trip over to Low Barnet to see how many of these port reports I can turn into stories right here. It's not like we particularly need the money with our 2,000 echoes. Oh, hello. that's a big skeleton. Whale bones. The Z has not been kind. The colossal skull is intact, but the body has been reduced to a gnawed frame of bones. Carvings have been scored into the bones. So, we can examine the engravings at a Tough Pages challenge, collect unknown toxins at a Modest Veils challenge, or harvest Stygian ivory. Actually, I believe that whale skulls actually do look like that. That's just its nose. Remember, we're seeing it from top down. Yeah, what's more disturbing here is that someone has carved things onto the bones. But that's a tough challenge, so I say what we do is the most money-focused option here, which is harvesting Stygian ivory. The bones are intact and valuable. You set to with the bone saw. While you work, curious shoals of anglerfish swim past, providing a brief moment of light. The beast's bones are notched, as though others had attempted this before. The marrow is curiously absent of color, thin and oily, seeping slowly into the water when the bone yields. Yeah, whale skulls are fucking weird, man. What I'm more interested in is the fact that there are whales down here. No matter how much you, like, go around underwater in this game, you will never actually see a live whale, only skeletons. So let's start trading stories with the congregation. We need 4 in order to do this. So, okay. We can talk about Antha, Hideaway, Rosegate, on the Undercrow, and Rack. So let's see what we say about Hideaway. If you remember, Hideaway was the city on top of the giant crab. You speak of the city on the back of a beast. It is difficult to find, for it roams throughout the Undersea, above the waves and below. It scorched its belly on Mount Palmerston and snapped the top from Massey's shaft. It blocked the harbor at Adam's Way and gave birth to the Grand Geode. Why, last you heard, it was making for London. No, it's not. It never moves out of the columnies. The entire idea behind Low Barnet is that you tell stories that have a grain of truth to them, but are not quite entirely true. So how about the Undercrow? That was the big lighthouse with the guy with the moth in his chest. You talk of the gut moths which inhabit every sailor and provide their nautical instincts. That taste in the throat which heralds a storm front, the ability to digest food even on choppy seas, the welcome fluttering in the stomach at the sight of a sweetheart on shore. Moths in the gut, growing all the time. Your listeners shift in their seats. One hurries out, clutching his mouth. And we already did Rosegate once, but let's see if we can get away with it again. Yep. You described the gleaming cabinets of cigars, the impressions of far-flung places conjured by each puff, the uplifting bite of freshly cut grass under surface sun, the dark whiff of lightless cellars stacked with mushroom wine, the sweating, savage scents of London's flesh pots. Your audience inhales in unison, savoring imaginary smoke. So, at this point, if we have the little lantern, which I'm gonna explore a tiny bit around the underwater area here, see if we can get the thing. Actually, while we're at it... Oh no, Xeno, we actually did see a terrible Z spider that ate entire ships whole. Remember Savior's Rocks? Okay, never mind. This place is still fine. Also, there straight up is what you're talking about, for the record. Like, besides the stuff at Savior's Rocks, there is also at least one monster which is like an undersea spider. Hey, business, good to see you. Hunter's Keep seems to be doing fine. The whale carcass is actually still here. This will actually go away after a while, the whale carcass we use, since that's a completed event. What is that? Is that another putter pony? Yep, that's a putter pony. But that over there is slightly different. That looks like torpedoes. Yep, +5 torpedo components, and color bulbs. A burst of viric radiance. Over the next hour, the vegetables in your galley sprout leafy frondular growths. Terror +5, hunger -50. Okay, we've got the lantern now, so we can actually finish up in Low Barnet. By the way, you guys can hear me all right, right? Okay, Contest of Stories. At the altar, they are recruiting storytellers, and your life is fascinating. Ah, shoot. Take advice from the wandering parson. The parson takes you aside. Every day, these people hear fables and fabrications. Give them something true. And if you win, he nods toward the bell tower, I would be very interested in seeing what goes on in there. Unfortunately, it looks like we actually don't have any of the things we need here. We would need either knowledge of the first mate's question at Eigel, a drowny hymn from Dahat, or Gantpole, the secrets old sailors keep. Hold on, can I turn off the bloody Steam overlay? It's bugging me. Never mind. I'm sorry, I don't know what VOD is. And no, this is just on Twitch. Hey, a shipwreck. Alright, we're exploring a shipwreck now. And we got a heavy wooden crate. 2 fuel. Nice. Wreck ship. Getting out of here. Right now. If you don't do it in time, as soon as the screen goes fully black, you're safe. Oh hey, let's catch something. And we got a strange catch. Now, since we're coming back to London with the lantern after being at sea, I believe that something is going to trigger at this point. Anyway, we have nothing to hide. And yeah, the blind bruiser. So, when you come back to London after accepting the gift, this guy's gonna be here. Good evening, Captain, and what a marvelous evening it is if you don't mind me saying so, and given it is my impression you are an obliging sort, I imagine you will not mind at all. And since you are so very obliging, perhaps you wouldn't mind making a little detour via Mount Palmerston with a few articles of cargo, if you happen to be in the area. The cheery man will, of course, cover your expenses for this trifling inconvenience. So, this is where you can get started on smuggling. And this is where I said, yeah, this is where you have to know what you're doing. The correct answer, since smuggling gets you started on a chain which can make you some money, but is also, if you keep going at it, eventually gonna get you hurt. Ask if there's another task you could perform instead. I see you are hesitant. Perhaps you find Mount Palmerston unbearable. And who could blame you? Well, if you have the vinegar, there's another matter which you might be able to assist me with. Yes, I think you would be very suitable for this task. Very suitable indeed. You know, Captain, I must say, of all the Z captains I've met lately, it seems to me that you have a knack for sensitive matters, and that you might be able to help my patron. He's an introspective gentleman, and has been reflecting on his life. And lately he has come to regret things from years past, and should like to set them right. But to do so, he needs that mistake brought home to London. He'd like her returned with every tooth still in her head, if he could. And he would be certain to award you with dispensations as generous as your own self for doing him such kindness. Okay. Kindly thanking you, Captain, we would like you to retrieve someone who has long been a sore spot in my patron's heart. They called her the last constable, round here, before she fled London. We've had reports of her investigating scoundrels at the Iron and Misery, spying on pirates in Guida's Morn, keeping the peace in Khan's heart, and watching the dead in Vendabite. She gets around, a real hard worker, that one. It's in her blood. And again, don't let her come to harm, if you can help it at least. We're understanding. If you return to London without having found the last constable, the blind bruiser will not take offense. Check your journal to be reminded of where the constable might be. So, we can check these 4 places to look for this character. There's 2 possible missions you can get. The other one is to find a source of immortality for the cheery man. This is the slightly more morally ambiguous one. This will make a lot more sense if you've played Fallen London. So they mentioned the last constable. So you're thinking, what would a what would a crime lord want with this specific constable? Well, she's his daughter. And they're, estranged, to say the least. So, what else do we need to do here before heading out? Do we sell anything? No. What's in our hold? Ah, yes. We still have those coffee beans for our next trip to Irem. We have a strange catch which we could use. Prisoner's honey, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and sell a couple of those things. The Stygian ivory will sell for 28 echoes. Not bad, considering we got it for free. Prisoner's honey will sell for 20. Again, we got it for free. And is there anything else? Doesn't look like it. I'm going to buy some supplies. And some extra fuel. And final thing to do is repair our ship. Oh yeah, and do some terror down actions. We can increase our crew by 1. Alright, see ya, Frog. Sorry, I didn't actually get, like, seriously on the ocean before you had to leave, but, well, preparation must be done. It's actually really important in this game, preparation. The best way to be successful in Sunless Sea is to know exactly where you're going and have stuff prepared for before you get there. So, where we're going, we definitely need... Do we have recent news? That's going to be important. I believe we do. Is it in the hold? Yep, we've got recent news. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and buy this and sell this. So we now have a new weapon. It's not much of a difference. Our old weapon was 8 hull and 8 life damage. This is 4 more of each. But that difference is going to add up when you consider the iron multiplier, which we have quite a bit of. Now, the one thing about the live specimen, I've been very open about... sorry about my dogs. I've been very open about the few things in this game I think are serious missteps. One of those missteps is... It involves the live specimens, because there's a place that you can just buy them. Quite expensive, but you can. However... It's one of the few places that isn't available in your first playthrough, because it only opens up after you've died at least once for your next captain. I think this is a mistake. But anyway. 18, 10. All that's left is to repair the ship. Alright, with all of that done, it is time to set sail. Our route this time is we're going to go past the Salt Lions, and then the Isle of Cats, and then hit up around here. Then keep going essentially up until we reach Eastival and potentially Irem, depending on how much fuel we have left. Alright, see ya, business. It's unfortunate. I guess it's just you and me, Zeno. We one-shot small crabs. That's a thing that's currently occurring. So, we actually have enough pages now to potentially get shit out of dissecting it, but I'm still gonna butcher it because the hunger bonus is very good. Yeah, considering it's eventually just gonna be you and me, Zeno, I'm only gonna do one trip this time. Normally I do around 2 runs. This might be a shorter stream than usual. I'm just glad I got to do a stream this week because I've been really itchy about it. I don't like going off schedule. Alright, we've got our port report. We can lose some terror. We've already done that up before, so this was just a quick stop. while since we've been to Visage. We should probably grab a port report and see what's up. Last time we were here, if you remember, we got kicked off the island for being very rude at their ceremony. Let's see if they'll let us back in. It looks like we can go back in. Let's do the Locust Mask this time. Moonmoth settles the Locust Mask over your head. The eye holes are covered with a thin gold film through which valuable objects gleam more brightly. May you find a happy harvest, says Moonmoth. Then, when you have partly turned away, it double knots the ties in its purse, as though you're likely to pick its pockets. Doesn't it know you can see it? Alright, we can go to the Library of Parts. Look for books about the ritual in the ear. Perhaps there's more for you to understand. You sift through past records. The ritual is listed yearly for dozens, perhaps hundreds of years. Each ritual records which citizen cleared the door for entry and which masks were present at the procession. There are references, oblique but suggestive, that the ritual began long after the ear was built, when the new people came to Visage. But why they came and what happened to the old people is not recorded. And then, this most recent ritual, it is recorded as having been corrupted by light. Ah, that will have been you, then. And then it kicks us off the island. Okay. Well, it's information, if nothing else. The ultimate reward in this game is to get more story. Cavendish. We've got our port report here. And we still have that option up for the whisper-locked box. God, yeah, YouTube uploads take so goddamn long. I don't know why that is. Yeah, I've got to start rewatching some of those. I was late a bunch of times, and I missed a ton of the story. I'm just happy I got to see Zucchini be a dick. I hope it's not like... I hope it doesn't suck too much being, like, the only person in the stream right now, Zeno. Because, I wasn't actually expecting, so many absences. Well, not absences, but so many people needing to leave. It's not a problem that they did. It's... theoretically, I could still do the stream and just ghost it, even with no viewers, but... it still feels a bit different. The governor is very, very busy. An attaché offers you a bowl of sugared puffballs and explains the work the governor does among the natives. Got to keep them happy, what? After all, they are tigers. And we've got our Carnelian port report. Okay, let's see if we can actually get any sapphires this time, and not that tiger asking if we sound delicious. Nope. Now here's something new. Insinuate an agent into Port Carnelian. The place is thick with spies. Who would notice another? Once your agent is in place, you can tap your network for information, or use it to influence affairs here. I'm going to do this and try to increase our veils as much as I possibly can. Which I think I'm already doing. Yeah. Well, let's give this a shot. Success! Your agent vanishes into the Carnelian crowds. Within the week, they will have found lodgings, friends, rivals, and victims. On subsequent visits to Port Carnelian, you'll be able to grow your network, or tap it for information. As it grows, you may be able to affect the balance of power in Port Carnelian. So, to possibly improve our network... Aha! You always get two options in this. We have one that just requires spending 2 secrets, or a Tough Hearts challenge. A rival agent besets your network. You need to draw them out. No spy could resist these secrets and maintain a shred of professional respect. Your quarry betrays himself. Your agents pursue him into the fungal jungle. The matter ends with knives in the violet shadows, and blood on the stalks. Alright, so the next opportunity possibility is just add another agent. But that's a very tough Veils challenge. We'll be back later. A foil to how Metalia starts out. I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's interesting. Could you elaborate? Yeah, my voice went all high there. Could you elaborate? The game does end, but you always have, like... Okay, you fulfill your ambition, and then you get an option to end the game. Which, like, every single time you come back to London, there'll be an option just sitting in your lodgings like, do you want to retire? And you can retire then. So we have to sail straight through the Waxwind here, which is unfortunate, as well as the Blue Prophets up there. Hopefully they won't see us. So far, so good. There's nowhere to port at the Crying Heights. It's just a formation that you can skirt around. This is too close. I'm diving. Oh, an underwater settlement some distance to the north, apparently. Oh, right! That's where that is. Okay. This is Eigel. The station is pinned to the surface of Eigel. Once it was a roving vessel, the Fortis Kettle, and floated freely from place to place. Now it is stuck on spines of fluke rock. Assemble a port report. You gather a description of the Fortis Kettle and a survey of its resources. You scrape away a little of the sealant, the color of amber and the texture of wax that keeps out seawater where the hull is pierced by the spines of Eigel. You sketch the arrangement of decks and hatches, so far as you have been able to reach. But about the population, you cannot offer as much detail. The tomb colonist declines to be identified, and the traveling postman laughs at you. So, to advance and do anything at Eigel, we have to get something called Solace Fruit. But hey, we got our port report. Yep. Oh, it's called a fluke. There's been some references to Lorn flukes. They're basically giant urchins. But more dangerous, usually. Eigel is not all that dangerous, but it has its, unfortunate aspects. Anyway, let's, surface here. This is Adam's Way. On a bed of monumental ruins, warehouses and way stations of shroom timber rise. All ships that approach Adam's Way are intercepted by the Gracious, the Presbytere's splendidly head-dressed coast guards. A quaint but inviolable tradition governs entry. You must tell them one of 3 stories. In return, you will be permitted to spend a single day in the port. Why are foreigners only allowed to spend a single day in Adam's Way? For your own protection, one of them explains kindly. The soil of the Elder Continent is dangerous to incomers, they claim. Those who linger can contract unfortunate conditions, hysteria, rapture, animescence. And the rumors that Presbyterate law offers no protection to foreigners after dark? Errant nonsense. Well, this is why we brought that recent news over. Is their interest strategic? Or do they just enjoy hearing about London's miseries? Regardless, they permit you to dock. The day has just begun. In the town square, a yellow-robed priestess plants a seed in a bed of black soil. No sooner has she patted down the soil than a tiny shoot pokes forth. By mid-morning it will be a sapling, by lunchtime a budding tree. By the evening's end it will wither and fall. You must be back on your ship before then. Well, there's plenty of things to do here. But an easy first one is to pick up the Presbyterate Adventuress. A tall woman in a salt-caked Royal Navy uniform is methodically shooting giant land snails off a chunk of fallen statue. You approach. She lines up another shot. Engage an officer. Afternoon, Captain. Looking for a gunnery officer? I'd like to help you blow up monsters if you'll have me. Oh, hello, Captain. Is this one of yours? I had to knock her about a bit. She didn't like taking orders from foreigners. Still, we're good friends now. The adventuress claps the black-eyed sailor on the back. Oddly enough, they do seem to be friends now. So this is a new crew member. And we can go ahead and listen to a storyteller to get a port report. Climb the stairs cut into the hill. Sit at the foot of the bee-capped stone columns. They will shield you from the southern mountain heat. Be quiet. Listen. Old storytellers share the shadow. The Prester is on the verge of declaring the Dawn Machine a blasphemy. London's bureaucracy is riddled with the children of the Thief of Faces. An expedition of foreigners recently put to shore in the west, then went south in search of the garden. They were discovered and given to the Red River. And what's this? An avuncular broker has a commission? His client is a task of modest but scriptural significance. He is conducting interviews. He meets you on the balcony of a shoreside coffee house. His handshake is effusive. His smile and cummerbund are broad. He urges you to squares of sticky baklava and a tiny glass of black coffee sweetened with a sprig of mint. I trust you won't mind answering a few questions, he asks, opening a notebook, to ensure we're on the same page, so to speak. The interview is scandalously personal. What business has he to ask such things? Well, to continue with this, we basically have to give up a secret or succeed in this challenge, which is a bit tough, so... He blinks in surprise. Goodness, I must admit, I expected you to lie. Never mind, never mind. Knowing you as well as I do now, he studies his notebook, too embarrassed to meet your eye, I think we can do business. He orders a plate of figs soaked in honey. Tell me, what do you know about the disciples of the Thief of Faces? Or snuffers to children and Londoners. Awful creatures. Eat candles, steal faces, erasing them as a sacrament. An associate of mine recently found one in Port Carnelian, but before he could expose it, he disappeared. Maybe the snuffer got him. Or perhaps one of the port spies. The place is stuffed with them. Your commission is to root out Port Carnelian snuffer. Capture it, bring it back here. I'd like to ask it a question or two. He pops a fig into his mouth. Well, we've got that commission now. We can also try to catch a nut that falls from the tree of a single day. Picking them from a branch is forbidden, but fallen ones are useless. You'll need to intercept it between bow and ground. An hour you wait, and another hour. In that time, nuts fall beyond your reach. You ignore them. Clack, clack, clack. There! A nut has fallen from a high limb. It ricochets from branch to branch as it falls. Your hand snaps out. The nut lands in your palm, glossy, smooth, and brown. A number of passers-by cheer your catch. We got an outlandish artifact. Also, I'd just like to note the description of outlandish artifacts is great. This belongs in a museum. Assuming that colonial imperial appropriation for the purpose of hegemonic taxonomization is a suitable response to the problem of intercultural contact. Which it probably is, because museums are magnificent institutions. Ah, and a funeral feast. A public square, a gathering of the bereaved, uncannily cheerful, a table shining with cutlery, white china plates, tall glasses. You move closer for a better look. The replete occupy lofty positions in the Presbyterate's military.
Despite their sanguinary past, they dine with the Prester and send their children to be educated at London's university. However, they maintain their tradition of eating their dead. The feasts are held in public. Here in a broad square stretches a splendid table. The departed was only a distant relative, some great aunt or second cousin, and the atmosphere is jolly. Servants carry the deceased over in steaming joints, cooked to perfect pinkness. A stately mourner stands, already wobbling from wine. Shall I carve? We can merely observe. The locals hurry by, unwilling to watch. It's the foreigners who linger and gawk. Or we can hurry away. We can't steal scraps from the table because that would mean we weren't a cannibal. If we weren't, this would make us one. Yes, they do eat their dead. But you know who else does that? We do. We've done it twice now, actually. We can actually, if we have enough cannibalism experience, we can increase our pages here. But for now, we can do this. The feasters recognize something about you. They add an extra chair to the end of the table. You make polite conversation with a half-dead aunt. The cuts that reach you are lean, but still pink, still succulent. You clean your plate. Afterwards, you are given a keepsake, a knob of bone engraved with the date. You accept it with good grace. Is that one of your crew among the gawkers, watching you with horrified eyes? Yeah, we made our crew a bit more nervous. But we got a memory of this. A lamentable relic, so we got a piece of bone. And more of the cannibal taint. And that's one day in Adam's Way. Yeah, all of the descriptions in this game are great. I love them all. So here's something interesting. We'll actually be back there in a second because I need to restock on fuel. But Dark Griffin Straits. Only living ships may dare Adam's Way and survive. Your hull shudders and crackles as the water grips it. So, if we look at the map, I mentioned before that you can sail off of the map in any direction. Behind the Dawn Machine is a way off west. You can sail completely north. You can sail completely east. This is the only place where you can sail south. Oh hey, Demiser. Good to have you here. We did take 3 hull damage from going in there. That's a huge hint that going down this strait is dangerous as hell. Actually surviving it is a hard Veils check. I think, like, you have to have somewhere around 200 Veils to get a 100% chance of living. And even if you do make the check and don't die instantly, you're reduced to 1 crew and 1 hull. Let's actually grab some stuff at the shop. Fuel's a bit more expensive. Not by much, though. So that's Adam's Way. Hey, it's a jellyfish. Those jillyfleurs that we've been killing the entire time have a bigger cousin. Ah, the Sea of Autumn. And a pirate frigate. Supplies and fuel. And more supplies. So the Sea of Autumn is the seat of the Mangrove College. But it tends to be spread out all over the place, so I don't know if we're going to find it right now. Especially since we have other things to do. Now here's where we get something interesting. Also a blue angler crab, which I don't want to fight. That's why. So this is the Udder Shroom. It's a giant mushroom. The queenly core of this spore-haunted sea. Now, I mentioned that one of the few ways to get live specimens is by buying them at London, the place that doesn't show up until you die at least once. That's not entirely true. You can exchange a strange catch for a live specimen here for the cost of the strange catch and the lantern. Let's gather intelligence. The villagers live a shabby but sufficient life. The Udder Shroom provides. They are secretive, taciturn, incurious. Ships rarely visit. A gaggle of blemigans, purple-tentacled fungus things, follows you down the rope to your ship, whistling cheerfully. Blemigans are vicious little monsters usually, but the ones on the Udder Shroom seem friendly. If they trouble you, you could probably throw them overboard. And let's visit. The central contradiction of Shroomer existence. They hate the Udder Shroom, but they do anything to avoid leaving. Monsters! Today they're telling the story of how they came here. It features a shipwreck, a rain of orange jewels, the mother's blessing. There's a great deal about adversity and survival, and wistful hints about their homeland. Somewhere to the west. So, the Blemigans we just got are an odd side quest that will help us out. If we can put Blemigans successfully onto 7 other places, then we'll get a reward at the mushroom. We have 3 Blemigans, which you might think means we could put mushrooms on 3 places. It actually means we could put them on 5 places with a certain specific trick. So we're going to save one of the Blemigans. And now, let's not beat around the bush anymore. What's up in the far southeasternmost corner of Sunless Sea? Are you ready for the place with by far the most terrifying name of anywhere else we've ever been? Yep, the shroom people want the honey. We have entered the Sea of Statues. Giants gape at us. King Eater's castle rises ahead, where fools give up their future. This is King Eater's castle. Echoes stalk you through the colonnades. An old veracity lives here, in the far reaches of the Sea. The priests are long gone, but sacrifices are still made. Perhaps you have come here to make a sacrifice. Perhaps the sacrifice is you. A woman in rags stands on the battlements, staring to the east. I'm sorry. I didn't expect anybody else to be here. Sit with me. No, do not look east. I only dare because I know I will see nothing, like the 5 before me. It is my first time at Z. We do not get out much. But you must have traveled far to end up here. Tell me your stories. You barely begin before she interrupts. How about the Gant pole? They say there they see the future. If you go, could you ask what the 7th will witness? I happily gave my life to prepare the ground. But to know would be the greatest of honors. So I'd like to note that 2 of the options here are labeled "Do not do this." I wish my dogs would be a bit quieter. Lose your mind. Don't do this. You need less than 20 terror. Eat your crew. Do not do this. This will destroy all your crew and any human or near-human officers. The struggle will wound or even kill you. Offer your stories, all of them. What is one more departure among so many? This may take you elsewhere at the cost of all of your Z stories. Choose it only if you are desperate to be somewhere else. Compile a point report. Silence. Desolation. The sense of an impending and terrible mistake. Everything is horrible. It's not really an appropriate title for a formal report, is it? Let's find something a little more clinical. The one good thing you can do here is an act of burning faith. At King Eater's castle, one finds unexpected words rising easily to the lips. You speak them, and so do your sailors as they build the offering pyre. The heart is destiny's engine, the boatswain mumbles. He looks embarrassed. We shall all return, you find yourself reply. You light the pyre and stand back. The flames warm you, warm your crew. The light plays on your faces and your outstretched hands. The darkness shrinks back. In crackling of the flames is the sound of home. And we lost 25 terror in exchange for 1 supplies and 1 fuel. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. This place is creepy. We're going to have to deal with the waxwind on the way out, unfortunately. Alright, what's directly north of King Eater's? The Empire of Hands. Okay. Also a Lorn Fluke. A savage Lorn Fluke, no less. It's one of those urchins. A stern reminder from the Admiralty. In the name and by the power of Her Enduring Majesty, a trade embargo and quarantine in absolute perpetuity has hereby been declared on the Empire of Hands. 1. No ship of London is to permit aboard a Pentecost ape without express and prior permission of the Admiralty. 2. Any and all acts of spirifage, that's the soul trade, are prohibited. 3. They know what they did. Beware of stowaways. Keep a tight grip on your soul. Excerpt from Standard Naval Regulations, Volume 4. With the regulations in mind, it is a surprise to be greeted by a mere itchy monkey in tattered yellow robe, barely walking with the help of a ceremonial staff. "Hello," cries the mayor in the broken voice of one not yet used to human speech. "Come, make selves at home. All souls welcome in bountiful Empire of Hands." The crew shifts uncomfortably. They know the stories. It will take more than the natural beauty of this place to make most of them risk shore leave here. Soul-hungry monkeys reluctantly tend this trading post, waiting for an opportunity to escape. Bloated fleas hop from ape to man and man to ape, gorging themselves without a care for which is which. So, to create a port report here, we actually have to do some stuff. We have to scout out the 4 islands. First, Sovereign Island. Many boats circle the island, all keeping their distance. The one that gets closest is an extended rowboat painted in yellows, whites, and reds. 4 servant monkeys strain at the oars, while its true passenger sits in comfort behind a gauze curtain. Just for a moment an eye catches yours, but only for a moment. It would not do for a high-souled ape to see something so beneath its notice. We don't have a gift for the Monkey Emperor to gain access to the Emperor's court. Today, the sprawling palace is called the Wild-Wheeled Court. Tomorrow, who knows? The world of the Pentecost apes is one of cruel whimsy, where stolen traditions last only as long as their amusement. How about Heartsake Island? A thin pillar of greasy yet appetizing smoke rises from the only human settlement in the Empire. The Admiralty has never stated precisely why it seeks to keep the Empire confined, though most opposition to it fades once said opposers actually encounter a Pentecost ape. They have been easy to corral, however. Though they do not lack wit, there is not an inventive bone in their hairy bodies, and no amount of stolen humanity has taught them the art of creating engines. The survivors of a pirate expedition have stolen this land, where apes are unwelcome except as an entree. North for each city the bats have brought down. He wipes his brow. Have you seen a big X on the ground by any chance? I got these 4 map pieces that got me this far and said X would mark the spot, but I can't find an X anywhere. He looks at the map sadly. It should be here, it says. Now where am I supposed to dig? He is too busy to talk right now, but adds that you will be in the village later if you want to trade adventuring supplies. Don't try the meatballs, he warns, getting back to his search. You just don't want to do that. Greasy smoke and guiltily tempting aromas rise from a collection of huts around a long beach pirate ship and a field of pointedly impaled monkeys. An explosion almost takes off your head. Sorry about that, booms the boisterous pirate, lowering his smoking blunderbuss as bits of shattered tree rain down. New arrival, are we? Well, if you haven't got a tail, you're all right by me. He squints, momentarily suspicious. You don't have a tail, do you? Wouldn't put it past the thieving little buggers to go shaving one of their own. Wouldn't know fair play if it kicked him right up the arse. His voice is louder than his blunderbuss. The congealed meat juices in his thick beard are better not considered. It was not madness that drove these pirates to cannibalism, but years of being shipwrecked without the comfort of meat. After a while, any meat would do. All are welcome to share the pirates' wealth, provided they have the stomach for it, and the table manners. So yes, we can, here's another place where we can eat human flesh. As you might have guessed from how I've been doing this so far, we're going to take these opportunities anytime we can. A toast to a forsaken yesterday. The boisterous pirate clears his throat, and all go quiet as he stands. To her enduring majesty, he shouts. To the ever-shining lights of home. A cheer rises as the pirates raise their mugs, drain them dry. But there is something quiet in the silence. They have long decided that what they have done here disqualifies them from ever again walking on Wolfstack docks, from singing in the Mandrake, and from meeting the eyes of those they loved. It is not fear that keeps them from asking the visiting captain for safe passage back home. It is agreement, unanimous. The boisterous pirate slams his hands together in an echoing slap. Amen, he declares, as everyone reaches for the meats that have them salivating so. They seem a friendly sort, and are shocked at the idea that they would ever be such poor hosts as to eat a guest, but then they have no shortage of supplies. The Z is quiet. The journey is pleasingly uneventful. You have not been eaten by cannibal pirates. All things considered, a successful trip. Fountainhead Island. Ancient secrets peek out of the trees. Any may visit, but few penties ever bother to make the pilgrimage. The Empire of Hands is hardly as old as they pretend, but mimicry and theft infuses their whole culture. If the penties have come to think that rulers should be buried in ancient temples, then it is ancient temples they will build. It would hardly be the first time their attempts to mirror humanity have entirely missed the point. swiftly growing vegetation keeps a thick forest wrapped around variably ancient ruins. Even the yet-to-be-plundered ones are heavily scarred with crowbar marks. In a clearing of parasynthetic trees looms an imposing structure of wood and stone. The Vault of the First Emperor. It stretches through the forest in a number of styles, each designed by the whims of the latest Pentecost apes who felt it needed to be made grander. It would take a dedicated team to break in and uncover its secrets. Perhaps you will bring one here later. And finally, the Ash Ispis, which is the most amusing part of the Empire of Hands. I don't remember this from 40K. Parasynthetic vegetation thrives in the Empire of Hands' fertile soil and cool humidity. Wide natural paths run between clumps of trees, softly lit by a dim green glow, and the occasional glimmer of false stars through the canopy. Only the cracking of leaves and the soothing sounds of water break the serenity of this volcano-forged paradise. Hunting for supplies is a bad idea. We should relax in the hot spring. 5 less terror. You hear that? It only takes one session of relaxing in a hot spring to completely counteract the effects of the mental effects of eating human flesh. You slip out of your itchy clothes and into the welcoming caress of hot, deep water. The salts and sweats of Zailing life melt away as you simply float, bare and free. Above, false stars glimmer bright enough to be worth wishing on. All around, the glow of trees casts ambient calm on the silent peace. How long has it been since you had a moment like this? Since London? Longer? Black beaches give way to an oasis of gently glowing trees and the scent of rotting flowers. There's a lot of things we can think about right now. The past, the future, the east, the Z. Let's check out the east. Few sailors are resourceful enough to get this far, where the stories end and the myths begin. From here, the lights of home are just a memory. The Z is blacker. Its tale's more guarded. It is not enough to simply keep sailing. None who try ever return home. Perhaps that is the price demanded by salt, as you've overheard the crew darkly murmur when they think no one hears. That doesn't mean that... Wait! What was that? Sounded like... giggling? A tiny blonde girl perches, watching on a rock. Her innocent grin is spiced with mischievous glee. She moves like a monkey, but she giggles like an imp, at the look on your face at being caught bathing in her hot spring, and the one that floods onto it as she scoops up your clothes. Shipwrecked as a baby, raised by the Empire of Hands, she now plays between the worlds of apes and men, neither quite one, nor entirely of the other. So, our hot spring adventure has resulted in a small child stealing our clothes. Yep, oh shit, it's anime time. A desperate swim. Curse these relaxed limbs. She waits, grinning innocently, until you emerge from the hot spring with nothing but your strategically placed hands for modesty. Before you can get close enough, though, she bolts from her crouched position and into the forest on all fours, a scampering run that turns every rock and fallen tree into a springboard. Your Empire of Hands quest for dignity quality is now won. This never happened. Chase the monkey foundling. Damn it! You cannot return to the crew like this! The branches scrape against your skin. The damp mud squidges between your toes. There is no sign of the monkey foundling, but her tracks are easily followed. The footprints lead here. She has not even attempted to hide them.
It's as if she wants you to follow. Ouch! Your hand slaps to your stinging buttock. The little stone lands in the dirt as a familiar giggle comes from above. You look to see the monkey foundling dangling upside down from a branch by her legs, a blowpipe in hand and a bag just out of your reach. Tantalizingly so. Taking a deep breath, you politely, very politely, request that she return your damn clothes now. The monkey foundling listens and gives it some thought, tapping her blowpipe against her lips as she decides. Say, please, she grins. Please. There, it is said. Pretty please? Pretty please, with an imaginary cherry on top if she likes. Pretty please, she adds, stifling a giggle. Pretty please? Damn it, it is freezing! How much longer? The monkey foundling is poker-faced. Pretty please? Pretty please! Your anguished plea echoes through the trees. You appear to have pretty pleased her, and she decides you deserve a reward. She fishes in her bag and generously throws you a sock. A single, solitary sock. She learns a few new swear words as she races off across the branches, near doubled up with laughter. Pursue the monkey foundling. She moves effortlessly through the branches above. You just spot the looped rope in time to jump over it, avoiding what would otherwise have been a nasty trip into the air. The monkey foundling looks disappointed. This is not one of your regrets. The monkey foundling slides down a vine in front of you. She sticks out her tongue and scampers through a break in the trees. It is a place that skunks would think twice of entering, if the Empire of Hands had such creatures. The monkey foundling, of course, is unconcerned, as much at home here as high in the branches or running the forest paths. She almost dances effortlessly across a thin fallen tree that crosses the mire, surrounded by the foulest, bubbling mud that has ever invaded your nostrils. She balances in the middle, daring you to try to follow. She wants to play? You'll play. Though the crossing is treacherous, particularly when one's hands are torn between modesty and balance. Hey, another success! You slowly cross the march. It is slow going. Your muddy feet slide against it, and the thin trunk barely carrying your weight. Inch by inch, step by step, you slowly make your way without slipping. The monkey foundling is visibly disappointed, even trying jumping up and down to shake the tree and make you take a messy tumble. But no, not today. You cross triumphantly to her grudging admiration. The monkey foundling dances. She pirouettes on a tree stump, saluting as you approach. Ambush! A screeching Pentecost ape drops from the branches. The shock on the monkey foundling's face makes it clear. This is not part of her little game. Its rage is focused entirely on her, the ghost of the Ash Isthmus, and the bright soul with which it can uplift itself to glory. It limps from some trap earlier, its fur blood-soaked and glistening. It lunges at the monkey foundling, who half rolls, half falls off the stump and yelps as it catches her by the leg. She rolls, shrieks her own howl as she lashes back with a kick that shatters Fang and splits its lip. This only further enrages the frothing ape. It strikes. So we either help the monkey foundling, she meant you no real harm, she was only playing, and bah! The little wench had it coming. She can't torture you and then expect your assistance. Let's help her. Rock beats ape. You reach for a stone and bring it crashing down on the distracted ape's head. Its skull cracks, dampness spreading. It collapses to the ground, hard. It is not a child's face that looks up at you. Still, you reach a hand down. The monkey foundling just stares at it for a moment, something human returning as the adrenaline fades. For a moment, it almost looks as though she will take it. But no. She leaps up on her own, bounding away towards the dark safety of her jungle. And then stops. Hesitates. She looks back, and tilts her head, beckoning you to follow. It is a look that suggests the game is over, but perhaps not yet quite finished. A small hut in the middle of the forest. Is this where the monkey foundling lives? Why would she lead you here of all places? The monkey foundling herself is nowhere to be seen, but she has left you something. It sits outside the hut, carefully placed by a large happy face drawn in the black sand. A little prize for being such a good sport. Your clothes, however, are nowhere to be seen. Of course, as the monkey part of her would no doubt demand, where would the fun be in that? Well now, there is no avoiding this any longer. The crew reacts with the expected amount of sympathy to your naked return, which is to say, exactly none. By the time you board the ship, every last crew member is on hand to see and cheer, with more than a couple letting off flares as impromptu fireworks. It is many, many days before the needling ceases and you are able to give an order without first scouring it for innuendo. On the plus side, it does boost at least the rest of the ship's mood while it lasts, and you have a new treasure for your collection. You've had worse days. We sort of defeated anime. For the record, there is no way to get your clothes back. It is impossible. There's no better choices we could have made. And it was actually a good thing because we lost 10 terror. Anyway, few have reason to brave the waters this far east, especially with the trade embargo. The Admiralty will pay especially well for up-to-date intelligence. And we now have a comprehensive port report for the Empire of Hands. All of them warrant further attention. For now, though, it would be best to see if your initial discoveries can whet the interest of anyone back home. I don't remember if you can successfully release a Blemigan on the Empire of Hands. I'm gonna go ahead and not do that. That seems rude. There's lots of other stuff we can do here, but aside from shore leave, not a lot of it is useful at the moment. With the help of a few crew members, you gather several crates of fruit and berries from the thick jungle. In exchange for a share, the monkeys of Port Stainton are oddly happy to help you sift through and find the best. Much of the crew subsequently suffers from terrible diarrhea. The two things are, perhaps, unrelated. This never happened. What's the Ash Isthmus? I don't know anything about the Ash Isthmus. It doesn't exist. What's Sasha Town? Oh dear, we got the creepy music again. And that is the Eater of Names over there. That's a ship, believe it or not. I still don't want to fight it, though. Yep, that's essentially it, Zeno. Anyway. Yep, this is a city on the back of a giant turtle carcass. The Shellonite. And this is where we need to go for the story. The bone men are the priests who guard the Shellonite's relics. The urchin Slivy said they keep your father's bones. But why? Yep, Eater of Names is, nasty. The bone man snarls at you from behind a mask of white clay. We do not lightly give up our treasures, he intones. What will you offer us? You dicker and argue for hours. The bone men won't accept secrets, money, or even hunting relics. But, one says at last, but if the Fathom King will return what he has stolen, then we will relinquish your father. Only then. So the next thing to do is visit the Fathom King. Other than that,
couple of things we can do. Hey, seeing your ship, a hunter strides up to you. For the pride of her family and yours, she demands passage of the undersea spire of Scrimshander. So now we actually have two people that are going to Scrimshander, the Drowny and this person. Hopefully they'll get along. They won't at all. An opportunity from a redolent flesh merchant. Even the Shellant's hardy folk keep their distance. For the flesh, he slithers, drool pouring from between his rotten teeth. The gant pole, where the breathies die. Bring flesh. We sells it to the turtler. Fresher meat. Big money to make. The gant pole is said to be deep underwater, mostly by sailors who do not believe it truly exists. Scrimshander is weird. We'll probably be going there today, because it's on our way back. It was on our way back last time too, but at the time I had more important things to worry about, like 1 health, basically. No matter what details you try to record, the stench creeps in around the edges of the sentences. The Shellanites, watchful despite the reek, movement among the miasmic scraps of long-abandoned monster carcass, frequent duels where the stink is thickest. Just imagine just like a city with just animal bodies constantly out in the open air just sitting around. And you'll get something close to the Shellonite. Also, the city is mostly made of a rotting carcass that's been there for hundreds of thousands of years. Someone is crying unusual wares. Follow the sound. So this guy, pay the chronicler supplies to inscribe a Z story onto a hunting trophy, and you'll receive an outlandish artifact. Alrighty. All sorts of stuff. Well, that's enough for the Shellonite for now, but we still have a place to go. Because the Gantpool is the name of this area, but with Submariner, it actually became a place. A giant underwater stone heart. The Gantpole. The submarine surfaces in a pocket of air in the middle of the giant stone heart. You are not the only new arrival. A midnight whale lies mortally wounded on a small beach of bone and blubber, moaning softly. An elderly woman in ragged red robes is carving its flesh, attended by a few disciples. Her hands move with expert, if incomprehensible, precision. The art of divination through entrails. Not the most pleasant or reliable way of seeing the future, especially with the organs in question still warm and oozing as she plucks them from the great beast. Whatever she's looking for, the focus it demands exhausts her. A sudden sound, rumbling, from the tunnels, the ventricles, the sound of a stampede. A cry of, "Protect the mistress!" as a flood of naked old men and women wielding primitive bone harpoons charges toward the whale. Old sailors, fixated on one goal, to feast on the Z flesh, whether the haruspex is finished or not. Let's defend the haruspex. That's the best way to do things here. These sailors look old enough to collapse at a slight breeze. You stride into the melee. The haruspex and their disciples are outnumbered, but your contribution to the fray is worth at least 10 of the elderly attackers. Their harpoons barely leave a scratch. Wrenching one from the nearest attacker, you easily hold the geriatric horde back with little but pointed gestures.
The Haruspex returns to her work. From the corner of your eye, you see a little of the method behind it. Just a little, but enough to see the traces of a pattern in the grooves of small ivory slate. She frowns, unsatisfied. The whale moans its last as she finishes up. Her work done, she thanks you with a nod, and has her people allow the old sailors to approach the slowly cooling carcass. So now that we've been here once, each time we kill specific sea beasts, underwater ones, Thylades, or not even underwater ones, Thylades, Behemustaches, Beloveds, or Triskelions, we can send them here to make the story go forward. Yes! I love the concept of fighting a bunch of old people, like really old people, and how that would even work. Port report. Ah, that favored hazing method of many a veteran sailor, saved for particularly wet-behind-the-ears recruits. Ask your captain to deliver this to the gant pole. Go to the gant pole and find my pocket watch. Tell the crew tonight we dine at the gant pole. A hilarious jape when not standing in the blasted place and hoping someone will pay for recent news from it. The carcass of the last beast to expire in this place still has plenty of meat hanging from its bones. Your crew would face starvation 100 times before adding this still quivering mass of glutinous blubber to the supplies. To the shell of it, however, it probably counts as haute cuisine. She sits with her eyes closed. A pair of disciples are wielding damp sponges, doing their best to moisten her cracked, bone-dry skin. Her fingernails have not been cut in decades. They rattle as she beckons you forward. Okay, how fucked up do your fingernails have to be for them to rattle when you move your hand? That's fucked up, lady. What does she see in the bodies of the dead? The nearly dead, she corrects. There is nothing to be predicted from meat but the quality of one's dinner. A wheezing laugh escapes her lungs. In Babylon, the quivering livers of 100 sheep showed us the fate of the first. In Rome, had Caesar only asked the right question. It is the life that leads to answers, not the meat. Down here, centuries of life. So many secrets. The great beasts of the sea pass on so rarely. I cannot hold on much longer in the hope of finding what I seek. How long have you been down here? 10 years, 100 years, 1,000. It is all the same after a while. The flesh keeps the body together. The mind, well, that is a trickier matter. I have coped, others have not. You have seen them, the oldest of the sailors, with no warm bed and loving family calling them to shore. They are as much creatures of the sea as any that swim in it. The heart welcomes them, and they embrace it. It is their fate. I see a far more important one in your future. Ask about the traveler. This must be the person the sixth witness meant for you to meet. The fading Haruspex shakes her head. I have seen nothing of this, but nor have I asked. If I have it in me once I have my answer, I will attempt the divination. So, oh wait, there is a shop at the gate pole, I forgot. Jonah's End and Portentum. We can sell our live specimen here for 7 strange catches, which you might note that back at the mushroom, we could exchange 1 strange catch for a live specimen. So technically you can make infinite money here, but it's a very slow process. And I mean, you can make infinite money at several points in the game just by continuing to do a thing that gets you stuff. Buy some fuel.
and quickly leave the camp pole. We'll quickly go back to the Shelinet to sell them the meat that we just got. Oh, sorry, meat. It's only one barrel, but it is a very large barrel. Delicious! The redolent flesh merchant dips a finger into the quivering blubber and tastes it with shivering enjoyment. He pays you and gets to work selling it by the cupful. It is impossible to tell if the Shelinet prefer it to their customary diet of rancid turtle meat, but it is at least a different flavor of terrible. His customers are still licking their lips when the barrel is drained to the last oily drop. Ugh. That is an easy way to make money because both of the things are literally right next to each other. But eventually the flesh merchant will get dragged away by people and stop selling. We've actually been getting a lot of terror reduction stuff that helps us out with making it back. We actually might be able to get back while still around only 50% terror. And back to Easterville. Y'all remember this place, right? Sunlight Island? Let's do our thing. I think you can release a Blemigan on Easterville. I'm gonna try. Yep. It bounces swiftly across the sun-hot sand, using a minimum of tendrils on the scorching beach. Somewhat shriveled, it snuggles into the shade of a fruit-rich tree. It seems unwilling to go further. So, we have put a mushroom somewhere else. This gets us a point. At 7 points, we get a reward. 11 supplies! And we didn't lose any crew from it. That is way better than I expected. Right, so let's head west. There's a couple other places we want to visit before heading back to London. We've actually already been to Ratsey. That's where Nook was. It actually really isn't. The Blemigans aren't infectious in any way. So the place where it's more just like they're weird. So this island we're about to hit, I've mentioned before that Visage is one of the two islands that were designed by Kickstarter backers. This is the other one. This is Nuncio. It was designed by pretty famous Fallen London player Space Marine 9, who, funnily enough, no longer plays Fallen London because he works for Fail Better Games. They hired him. He used to run a lore blog on Tumblr called St. Arthur that talked about
and collected Fallen London's lore, which he doesn't have anymore because he works for them now. He knows too much. He was also somewhat obsessed with rats, for reasons relating to Fallen London, and infamously came up with a plan to, every single time a specific thing came up in that game, he sent the creator of the game 100 of the dead rat item. Just all the time, forever. So this is what he designed. Do not return, sender. Taciturn functionaries walk the docks in the uniforms of postmen. An enormous crowned statue casts a chilling shadow. The shadows gleam with rats' eyes. Their ceaseless chittering rolls like the tide. This is where we're supposed to deliver the Lorn Fluke. But we shouldn't probably do that yet, because we don't have enough empty space. We'll be back here in a bit. You may not be very familiar with the locals yet, but you can provide a preliminary overview. There's the statue in the middle of the island. That's hard to miss. There's the way everyone wears a uniform and the way they call each other by their ranks in the postal service. There's the way the port authorities refer to regulations. There's the jargon, the curious habit of referring to any used-up thing as cancelled, as though the whole world were made of stamps. You write about vestigial bureaucracy and about trappings of order retained far from home. So this is the Postman's Island. The Inky Blotter, the Postman's Tavern is called. The sign doesn't look like much. Faces turn in your direction, but no one seems surprised to have a new arrival on the island. We can actually do something with the clattery air here. This will be important. She could remove the call from a postal worker. They wouldn't be a worker anymore, of course. So, we'll find out more of this, but short answer, for some reason this island has an aura that attracts postal workers. So if you're a postal worker, eventually you'll be called away to Nuncio. The hairless postman won't hear of it, but you do get one taker. I miss London, he says. I'm tired. The inside of my mouth tastes like stamp glue. Blunt Thomas gives you a bottle of rum and the use of the basement. No amenities, but I don't fancy cleaning the blood off a better floor. The patient takes off his uniform for the last time and lies on the cold floor. No spectators, says the clattery air harshly, and puts you out of the room. She comes out later with a scrap of skin from the patient's chest. The patient follows, whistling a tune from Mahogany Hall. That over with, we can actually start finding out more about this place. Ask about the big statue in the center of the island. If there's a guidebook for visitors, it would have to be the first entry. Oh, that! It's all of us, isn't it? Sort of the spirit of the island. Most of them don't seem troubled for more of an explanation than that. Though the hairless postwoman tells you that it didn't always look like a fallen London postman at all. It used to have a different face and a more old-fashioned outfit. Ask why the local currency consists of rats. The hairless postwoman at the end of the bar smiles mirthlessly, or maybe it's just the lack of eyebrows that does it. Long enough carrying the things around, you get into the habit, she says. Then she tells you that if you stay out late enough, you'll see some of the postmen making a procession to the center of the island, stringing up rats around the statue like Yuletide decorations, in prayer to the ancient deity of this place. From the coughing and choking elsewhere in the pub, you'd guess this is a story they often tell to newcomers. Why are you hairless, then? No, she says, curt, not pleased you asked. Still had eyebrows when I came to Nuncio. The postman at the next bench diverts you, speaks in a low voice. Lots of people find habits when they can't deliver the post anymore. This one has a plucking habit. Best to learn not to notice. You glance up. The hairless postman is still glaring at you. Oh dear. Faux pas. It's listening on tall tales. Delicate bottles lowered down chimneys with a rope. Do not fold under any circumstance letters curled through a narrow slot. Rattling, groaning crates brought back to the same address every day for 22 days running. The windows they pried open, the servants they bribed, the delivery surcharges they paid out of their own salaries just to get rid of one more packet. It is hard to tell which they hate more, the senders of mail or the recipients. Stands to reason, if the message was of a welcome one, they'd tell the other fellow in person, reflects the hairless postwoman. How do you occupy yourselves all day? There must be more than this. Dead letter office. Big building, center of town, hard to miss. You can work there too if you want. It's not clear whether this is a generous offer or a threat. Ask to borrow a uniform. If you're to fit in here, you'll need one. They're polite, even apologetic about your request. You're welcome here and welcome to take shifts at the dead letter office, but you cannot wear the uniform unless you are a postal employee back in fall in London. Regulations. Blunt Thomas lets you have a look at his uniform jacket at least. Neat stitching, gilded buttons, a thin but dignified circle of braid at the collar. Inside, a patch that goes over the heart, stitched with 6 red letters. You can't read it, but it makes your eyes itch and your scalp feel like burning. As for the dead letter office, Blunt Thomas takes you around the office, a small collection room where those retrieving letters may state their business. A much larger set of back offices where newly arrived letters and parcels are collected and sorted. A dank, briny smell that never goes away, presumably because so many of the parcels spend time in the water before they arrived here. In the back room is a machine ratted, by a postal rat, a Ratus Faber in a pinstriped hat. It shovels sludge-damp letters into the machine's hopper, and they come out dried, cleaned, pressed, and sorted into slots by size and quality of paper. Converse with the postal rat. Why doesn't it make a machine like this one back in London? Might lead to fewer dead letters in the first place. Oh, no, that wouldn't be permitted at all. There are strict rules about the initial handling and sorting of post. An experimental machine might mangle the letters. It's only the dead material that is unimportant enough to be entrusted to a Ratus Faber. His voice isn't bitter, but he twists a coil so hard that it springs sideways out of the machine and pings off your shoe. There are doors in the dead letter office that you've never seen opened. Surely you can be trusted. No trouble at all. He's surprised by the request. Most postmen don't like it down there. No one ever asks for a key, but he'll cut you a new one. Just be careful in there, and come out if you start to feel wrong. You had expected a few shelves of supplies? More files of letters a few years older? No. It is a pit, so deep that lantern light does not show the bottom. A spiral walkway descends along its wall, and that spiral opens wider as it goes, if you were looking through the narrow of a very large shell. Lining this wall are shelves and nooks, unevenly sized. Some are a few inches square and contain single scrolls of papyrus. Others support crates bigger than coffins. They're made of a woody fungus, grown to meet requirements. There are no marks of carpentry or any of the postal rat's handiwork. 3 turns down the spiral and you feel you can't breathe. Time to leave. You can come back later. Maybe. Tell the postal rat about your basement findings. They say that's been there since before we came, before there were Londoners underneath, before there was a dead letter office, there was someone else, and they built the last layer on top of what was there before, and so on. When you press him a little further, he says, I've been down there. Didn't like it much, but I wanted to test my machine. Thought if it can handle some of the very old dead letters, that would be a good sign, you know? Evidence that the machine was in working order, good strong sorting categories and so forth. He pauses. There's letters down there that set your hair on fire if you so much as look at them. See the bald patch on my left leg? That wasn't a machine accident. Oh no, that singed right off as soon as I put my nose into one of them letters. So there's 2 ways we can continue at this point. One of them requires 5 foxfire candles and a flare, which can be expensive. The other one is a 30% mirrors challenge that raises our terror. We'll save that for some other time. What we can do is claim a respectable envelope from the dead letter selection. Or offer employment to the postal rat's niece. That'll get us a Rata's Favor Assistant, which we can use to repair ourselves quickly, but we don't need one at the moment, so I'm going to go with this, because I don't think I've actually done this before. Dear, dear Mama, sensible of the honor of your advances, regret that I cannot accept your proposal. Unable to leave the side of darling Mama while she still suffers her rheumatic complaint, considering her lifetime of sacrifice in raising her children, could not leave her now. Certain you will understand all my wishes for your future happiness. The writing is even, tidy, untroubled. It did not grieve the writer to send. That is, assuming dear Mama did not compose this message herself. We can explore along the beach. Take a sounding. Striking the ground causes the stones to shift and rattle. It is hard at first to hear anything more than that. But if you try long enough and strike hard enough, the whole beach quivers like the surface of a drum. The flotsam letters quiver and align themselves in concentric circles around the point of impact. The next wave brings ashore 3 or 4 times the usual freight. Every lap of the wave drags up some new letter or parcel. The face of the water is dotted with them, as far as you can see in this blackness, carried by a powerful current. So the island is just surrounded by floating letters and packages. Just, any lost mail goes here. You make your way along the shore with a big sack. Many of the envelopes are too damp to read, their addresses permanently lost. But a surprising number are still legible. There are also parcels. Here and there is a crate, a message in a wine bottle, a sealed cask that is bobbed up out of a shipwreck. Your sack ought to get heavy with all these contents, but it pulls upwards and away, straining inland towards the dead letter office like an unmanageable dog. Once we have a post, we can go back to the dead letter office and feed your undeliverable letters into the sorting machine. After prolonged whirring, the machine begins to distribute. 7 invitations edged in gilt into the correspondence of the aristocracy slot, 2 oversized parcels probably containing books into the books tray, 1 stamped bronze tablet that drops with a clang into a bin marked First City. The postal rat watches all this with an air of satisfaction. For the time being, that's about all we can do on Nuncio. So, in the meantime, before we come back to get our reward for the bloody, what was it? Oh yeah, the fluke. Let's take a quick stop at Nook, which is in the area, if you remember. We've got our mushroom wine. Compiling the port report. A vile place, festering, acidic. No laws but those of tooth and claw, written in scars. Civilization? Impossible. Making tea would be a logistical impossibility. Yet the inhabitants seem content. Many have come here from London, the Connaught, the Presbyterate, abandoning cultured life for this tenuous existence. They grin, their mouths full of stolen flesh, or float naked and carefree. Many have nothing, and nothing to lose. A group of swimmers dart past, hunting gleefully. One squeezes your shoulder, companionably. You've never met her before. Nook is another place I believe you can release a Blemigan. The Blemigan adapts to the water before it has even left the submarine's airlock. It bubbles contentedly and sinks deep down into the depths, where meat is fresher and the light is low. Now, this actually does something. Join a Blemigan hunt. The Blemigan you released has flourished down here. Rough-looking hunters with bone harpoons risk the descent in the hope of finding tastier food. The hunt is on. You join the hunting pack. Clouds of Blemigans live deeper in the throat than most Nookfolk can tolerate for long, and are already breeding at an unseemly rate. Caught unawares, they are easy prey. The challenge comes when the hunt ends and it is time to divvy up the spoils. More blood stains the water. Still, you acquit yourself well. We got another 2 supplies. And now we can search for phosphorescent nodules. I'm going to go ahead and do that until we run out of water. Your buttons are an irritation. You abandon the last 3. Your collar itches intolerably. You tug it loose. You are perhaps not regulation straight as you proceed to your quarters. Everything all right, Captain? A crewman asks, warily. The more time you spend in Nook, the more it will change you and unnerve your crew. Sacrifice memories to the flukes of Igel to counter its effects. They say that, but all it ever does is make you take terror from leaving. And it's not, it never goes like above 5 or 10. Now, I will quickly sample some Nookweed. Your vision darkens, then floods with light. Nook is not freedom. There is no freedom down here in the black belly of the earth. Freedom is above, beyond the thin blue shell of the sky, out in the stirring, shining reaches of the high wilderness. Once you surged between the suns. You recall swelling suns and golden thrones in the writhing world of... Now you coil in this pit on the bed of this little sea and sleep and dream of the winds of nowhere and stir and sleep again. You are growing hungry. The vision fades. So we actually just had a vision of, like, this creature. Its life. Which tells us something. This sea worm, the barnacle, it's not. This thing is from space. For the record, the high wilderness is slang for outer space in this series. Now we've got a ton of nodules. So, let's head down to the stomach. Alright. Onwards. This could be a thing. Let's go deeper. 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 This will be our last run. Investigate an ossuary of bone. What looks like horizontal ribs line this part of the stomach. Skeletal remnants hang from them. The placing is deliberate. The bodies are firmly attached. An old ritual from an earlier age of Nook? You cannot tell, but it is a matter that London's eminent scholars will no doubt be interested to debate. At least until the brandy runs out. Oh, shit. We got another live specimen from this. Something glimmers in the darkness, light through a tear in the flesh wall. A revolting discovery. You push through the tear into the fleshy cavity behind. 100 child-sized maggots infest it, eyeless, bleached white burrowed in with their teeth. In the middle of their numbers a skeleton picked clean, lit by a cluster of discarded nodules. And something else glints in the light. Polished gems, of no use to these monsters. With careful movements you navigate the maggoty boil and collect them. At least 100 echoes worth, you estimate. Ugh. The thing has fucking maggots in its stomach. And they ate someone. Or at least ate someone's body. Climb down an undulating tapeworm. This could be a quick way into the depths, or at least into a prominent entry in the upcoming second volume of The Worst Ways to Die at Z. We're gonna get wounded if we fail at this, and it's a 20% chance, so no. Even though it will get us deeper for free. We've run out of time here. And that's that for Nook for now. We did get 107 echoes out of this, as well as some stories. Something has been following us. It is patient. Oh, we went past Nuncio by accident. Oh, there it is. Oh hey, we have our recurring nightmare. Luckily, we're fine. We are getting dangerously high on Terra, though. We're going to need to make a stop up at Frostbound soon. And unfortunately, I think that also means we have to, we're going to have to skip out on Port Cecil again. Alrighty. The drowny postman gestures to a modest pyramid of cargo behind him. Accept this as thanks, and an apology. I told a small lie. I labeled the package myself, Captain, to avert a great disaster. Our king keeps discreet accord with the flukes, one which I maintain. Their dead must be appropriately disposed of, using the traditional manner. If this were 10 years ago, perhaps the boy could have kept it. But since the Lorn flukes were taught ambition, they are best not antagonized. I will deliver this corpse to my liege. I have no doubt his chef will prepare it most respectfully. So if you remember right back at the beginning of the game, we made that decision between the guy who wanted to study the fluke and the postman saying, oh, it's meant for delivery to Nuncio. We went with the postman, the drowny postman, because, well, it is labeled. Turns out that was a lie. We did get 9 bolts of parabola in and out of it, though, which is very good. Although we're running low on fuel, but Mount Palmerston's on the way back. How... 130. You know what? I don't remember rat barges being all that powerful. All we get is a cache of curiosities, though. But it is spider silk. Spider silk's pretty good to get. I would go to Port Cecil now, and I'll still show it off a bit. But it's probably a poor idea with our current level of terror to actually do anything there. And if I have to go too much out of my way to actually get to the port, I'll skip it altogether. What you're seeing right now, all these weird islands, Port Cecil is essentially in the middle of a gigantic coral reef. Ah, there's the port. Rumbled convulsions of coral fill the water, glimmering with silvery light. The harder you look, the more you see shapes amid the chaos, almost as if they were sculpted. This one could be a crenellated castle, that one a horse's head. A neat little port huddles into the side of a coral island, prosaic imperial docks and houses tucked away in a baroque organic chaos. In that curious silvery light, among the frozen chaos of coral, the scene has the unreal air of a pencil sketch, crumpled and discarded. Chess is popular in the Principles. The port is full of exiles, drunks, and washed-up Z-traders. They all play, often obsessively. Be careful. The chess pieces are carved from skintillac. Here in the Principles, that can be very dangerous. Luckily, our initial pages gives us a 100% chance of success here. Odd thoughts bubble up each time you touch a chess piece. This one longs for home. That one has a secret desire for revenge against the slayer of its rankmate. This will be a queen one day. Those would do better as metal. You taste the metal. You ignore these thoughts and move methodically to a victory over your opponent. He blinks. Checkmate? He asks helplessly. Same one. We get pages each time we do this, but the things get harder. It is now less than 50%, which means I'm going to stop doing it because failure gives you terror. We can also gather some intelligence. The older inhabitants of Port Cecil carry coral incrustations like a disease, splotched with silvery light. They like to go up into the limestone heights behind the harbor to lay their heads against the pillars and towers, stare at the roof of the Neath, dream open-eyed. Sometimes they speak of things far away, the Connaughts' work, the smuggler wars, the Fathom King's secrets. Perhaps it's not all invented. The last thing here for now is to gather skintillac. 51% chance. Unfortunately, we did get 2 terror from this. Polypoid whispers. It's against local law and custom to break coral from the reef, and you've seen the scars of those who tried. The acid burns, the blind silver eyes. So you're looking for loose fragments. Today the sea is calm, and you find a good few candidates. They lie shining softly like droplets of moon. But after a little while, you become concerned that they're eyes, that each is watching you. When you close your fist around one, it examines your blood with amused delight. When you put them together in your pocket, they clatter and gossip together. Of course, you think. They broke from the shining mind. They have its vitality, but not its weariness or experience. You will have to lock them in separate boxes lest they peep at you while you're bathing, and see who you are. The thought of their sight on your skin fills you with horror. What if your skin turned clear? What if they saw your bones? You come back to yourself when you see one of your sailors fall on his back and start kicking delightedly in the air like a beetle. "Gravity!" he cries. "I have fallen!" You hasten back to the ship with your haul of coral before it can do any further damage. So, the principles of coral. Shit, albino moray. I don't want to fight that. Again, sorry about my dogs. There's a couple of places here that have odd names, such as the aphotic quills, or most obviously the noctic lobe. Coral isn't really something that, coral is not really something that's you call lobes. A lobe is more like a brain. Which, oh shoot. Oh, I really shouldn't be doing this. I should not be underwater right now. This is actually a terrible idea. We'll have to leave. Excuse me a moment. Sorry about that. Just had to let my dogs out. So, we're gonna head over to Frostfound and then Mount Palmerston to get some more fuel. And then we're basically gonna head back. If anyone is, there's probably not going to be that much that's interesting in between now and then. So, this is, until we reach London again, there's pretty much, well, stream's essentially over. I'll take care of it now. I'd like to thank everyone who showed up for coming. Anyone who's watching this in post because they missed it at the time, don't worry, I still love you. And there's plenty of stuff that you've probably just seen that I managed to I managed to get through anyway. Hopefully, Sunday next week will be the next stream. I think I'll be free then. Although, I'll play it by ear. Wow, it's really gotten late, hasn't it? It started at like 6, so it's been 2.5 hours. Which I normally do more than that, but also it's very late in the day, so yeah. I imagine people have other things to be getting to. So here's the that thing we're supposed to get at Frostfound, the strategic information. We have a 40% chance of getting this. And we did it! When will the towers topple? The Riddle Fisher shares a series of linked riddles with you. You identified the linking factor. It's a prediction about who will win the contest between questions and riddles next year. Perhaps the Admiralty will find it useful. It's the closest thing to information about the balance of power this far north. Here's something. Since we have all this parabola linen, we can grab another officer, which will be important for us later. Ah, yes, you will do nicely. I need a ship, dear heart, and I rather flatter myself that you need me. The modiste neither packs lightly nor suffers fools gladly. One solitary scratch on my steamer trunks from you sniveling little homunculi, and I take the whole blessed lot of you apart at the seams. She turns back, her lips curling into a smile. As I was saying, Captain, you really must try to take the waters here before our cruise. Most invigorating, Brimstone. Okay. Get our port report. Explore the island a bit. This guy's asking us for souls. Unfortunately, we don't have any. The most important thing to do here for us right now is get some damn fuel. keep my terror down, because this is ultimately a resource management game, I'm going to be keeping my light on this entire other time. As soon as we get back to port, stream's over. It's been a day. We did find some cool new stuff, though, right? We discovered a city on the back of a dead turtle. We found anime monkeys. We found a creepy place where people apparently eat kings. We found the labyrinth of eels. Hell, we even found a giant mushroom. And more importantly, our map is basically full. There's still a lot of, like, spots, but we have actually been to every single square, even if it was just the corner of it, at least once. Surprisingly enough, this time we actually managed to get home with not a ton of damage. As a note, you can technically sail indefinitely in this game. There's no such thing as a resource that can't be gotten outside of London. As you've seen, there's plenty of ways to get fuel and supplies. Repairs can be done if you're above 50% by spending supplies on them. I normally just don't do it because it's not all that worth it. Well, I might try with some of our supplies here. Hey, we got some parabola linen to partially replace the stuff that we paid to get the new officer. Speaking of which, who is this new officer? The merciless modiste, dressed to kill in her own unique fashions. You can apparently fight this one to the death. We might actually want to do that at some point later. Either way, we've reached London again. But yeah, you can get fuel at sea, you can get supplies at sea, you can repair yourself at sea. Limit. Here's what it looks like, by the way. Oh dear. So it's like 1 supplies for 5 hull. And you can reduce terror at King Eater's Castle and a couple of other places. If you manage yourself well enough, there's no need to return to London for a very long time. Anyway, we lost 1 suspicion by having nothing to hide from the Ministry of Public Decency. And we are now back in London. I will go ahead and make a save. Alright, that will be it for today. Stream is over. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming once again. And I will see you next time.